Om Sri Sai Ram, loving Sai Rams to one and all. Now I request Sri Vishnuvardhan Sri, National IT Coordinator, Sri Sathya Sai Seva Organizations, India, to welcome all and to introduce our guest speaker, Sai Ram sir. Over to you.
Yeah, Sai Ram brother, thank you so much. Loving Sai Ram and my humble pronounce to the divine lotus feet of our most beloved Bhagwan, Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Thank you for joining this call. And those who had the last time also, welcome back. And all the new people, welcome to this session of the series of talks which our Journal President Professor E. Mukundan sir has been arranging for under different names. And this is the second series under this teacher cell, particularly by our beloved Sai sister, Dr. Akila Indurti. And those who joined the last call, maybe a refreshing for them. And for the new people, I would like to say a few words about our today's speaker, Dr. Akila Indurti. I am also associated with Sri Sathya Sai Vidya Vahini English mission program, for which she is heading. She is a team lead. So I know her personally. She knows me. So I would like to say a few words our Sai sister. Dr. Akila Indurti has got a passion for English language. Right from her beginning of the career after her PG, she went for PhD program in English language, and she has been continuously working for the language improvement across country, and close to 12 years to 13 years. So she has been with Sri Sathya Sai Vidya Vahini. That's a unit of under Sathya Sai Central Trust, directly connected with the central organization. And she has been a very active as a team lead for we call it as the English mission program, under which there are certain there are types of English learning courses for which our sister Dr. Akila Indurti has designed and written the programs, and some of them I would like to say. And before that, a few words about her background also. Coming from a very devoted family, even in the childhood also, she was a Balavikas student, completed Balavikas and then pre-Sevadar. And very important thing is, she received her diploma certificate from the divine hands, that is our Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. She completed diploma and received the certificate from the hands of our beloved Bhagwan. And quite some time she was also in the Middle East countries, where she was very active in the educational programs, like a Balavikas Guru, education coordinator, EHV coordinator in the Middle East countries. She contributed a lot for the Balavikas movement, and also conducted workshops in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Oman, Doha on educational and human values. Okay, and then regarding the Sathya Sai Vidya Vahini, designed and developed the courses. One of the flagship programs of Sathya Sai Vidya Vahini is, we call it as a Phone Your Friend. That is basically English learning language course, for which she has designed the course. And also recently we have our team, under the guidance of Dr. Akila Indurti, has developed an app also, that is Sign In. Those who are not able to come in contact with the mentors, the team has developed an app. Remotely anybody can learn English language, and for which also the program and the courses have been designed by our sister Dr. Akila Indurti. I am also directly connected with Sign In. I have got about 9 mentees with me. I've been guiding with them, and the courses are extremely well designed, and one goes through those pattern of the system. I'm sure, in fact, we have experienced that the teachers or the people who have joined the courses are able to speak a good English, reasonably good English, with no grammatical mistakes like that. Though the program is designed in such a way that if one goes the elementary, basic, intermediate, upper intermediate, there are certain types of courses are there. If one completes all those courses, definitely she or he, irrespective of the profession which they are holding, they are able to express a good English, and for which we are all thankful to Dr. Akila Indurti, and she has designed the programs. And coming to her involvement with the Government of India and Government of Karnataka, there is a platform called Swami, presence with a course Education for Sustainable Development, and that also designed and developed by our Sai sister, and also connected with the UNICEF, that is Siksha portal, Sarva Shikshan Abhiyan, SSA they call it. It's basically implemented in Government of Karnataka, and there's a fundamentally literary program and trained government teachers. She has been active in those programs. And then just to give you some numbers, how it is not only the designing and putting the program, but it also matters how many people are getting benefited through this across the country. And we have more than 1,200 people working for Sathya Sai Vidya Vahini across India and abroad also. And PYF, that I call it Phone Your Friend, we have close to 366 learners across India. And sign-in app, through the remote, the online program that is about, we have got 839 learners. And educational, that is foundational literacy program and trained teachers, we have got about EIP, they call it. We got about 4,000 plus. So that is the impact of the courses developed by, and her consistency in putting the English language in front, so that the teachers in the remote villages, teachers in the middle towns or the cities, the people are getting benefited through these programs. And we are thankful to our Bhagwan Baba. And through Dr. Akila Indurti, Bhagwan has been making a lot of programs, and many teachers and learners are getting benefited. We are really fortunate to have such a learned, accomplished individual today. And I welcome our Sai sister, Dr. Akila Indurti, to take over today's topic, because last time those who were on the call, she spoke about the building English language proficiency in learners. And today's topic is inspiring teachers. That is today's topic. I request Sister Akila Indurti to take over the session. Thank you, sister. Thank you, everyone, for joining our call. Sai Ram.
Om Sri Sai Ram, offering my most loving pranams at the lotus feet of our Divine Lord. Thank you very much, brother, for this wonderful introduction, warm words. Thank you, Professor Mukundan sir, for having thought of the program and having invited me here. I'm quite excited to be talking to all of you on this wonderful topic called the inspiring teacher. And with your permission, I will start sharing my screen now. Just give me a moment. Yes. Who is the inspiring teacher? Now, all of us who have got into this profession of teaching, whether it is by chance or whether it is by choice, once we have entered into the profession, it is for us to do, complete justice so that our children will benefit and we also improve as a better teacher. We come out as a better individual. We get transformed. So how do we be the inspiring teacher? Where do we look for the motivation? Whom do we have as our role model, whom we can follow if we want to become the inspiring teacher? And how can we become one? Well, we are all so fortunate. We don't have to look any further. We have Swami himself as the role model, because he has been telling us time and again, just follow what he has been doing, and we would become the best teachers that we can ever be. So this session we will have in two parts. The first one will be Swami as the role model. How can we follow him in our own classrooms? Is it possible for us to follow the master? And the next one is what we call the IIEP model. Now, this is a Vidya Vahini model, the methodology which Sri Sathya Sai Vidya Vahini follows is the IIEP classroom, IIEP model, about which I will be talking to you as we progress. So the first thing is, if we take Swami as the role model, what is it that we need to think of when we talk of Swami as the role model? Have we ever seen Swami exceed the time? He comes in exactly at the appointed time. There is a pre-defined time that is given. Supposing the discourse is at 6:30, you will find Swami starting the discourse at 6:30 sharp. And exactly after an hour, he would have wound up. You just set your time, you can look at it, and you know it is an hour that has passed by. Swami never exceeds, except in very, very, very rare cases. I don't think in his entire lifetime, he must have given about thousands of discourses. He has never exceeded the time. So the first thing that we all learn from Bhagwan is time management. And I'm talking to you about this because most of the teachers, what they do is, I don't have to explain this to you. You all know. As soon as the exams are announced, as soon as the timetable is announced, what do? You try to snatch the physical education, the PT class, the library class, and you try to take extra classes. Now, if the timetable has been set for a particular number of hours, that means it is well thought of and designed. So there's no need for you to exceed the class, except maybe if the school declares a holiday because of some unforeseen circumstances. Otherwise, if you have taken the classes according to the schedule, then there is no way. And there is a lot of leeway, cushion that is also given. It is not that it is so tight that if you can't finish, if you don't get one extra hour of, if one holiday is declared, your portions cannot be completed. The reason is because we have not understood how we have to cater to the classroom. And therefore, what happens, we think all that we need to do is we go on explaining. I think I have talked to you about the explaining teacher, the inspiring teacher, and the complaining teacher. So we try to go on explaining what we are doing much beyond what is required. We think a child's head is like a pot which has to be filled. And therefore, our time management skills go for a toss. So the first thing that we need to understand, or if we have Swami as a role model, is to how to manage our time. Ever since you enter into the profession, the very first thing that you must learn to do is try to finish whatever has to be done within your own class hours without depriving the children of their precious extra classes like, the PE classes or their library time, which is what normally teachers try to snatch from their schedules. So this is something that we need to remember at all times. And if we are doing that, that means we are not a good teacher. So we need to buck up and improve our skills in time management. And the next thing that we learn from Swami is that just look at the way his audience is comprised. People come from different classes, people come from different places, their mental makeup is very different, they are at different levels of understanding, but there is something in the discourse for everybody. Everybody goes after the discourse saying that, yes, this was so amazing, there was a message in it for me. I think it seemed to be like he was answering my prayer. These are all common comments that we have heard after listening to Swami's discourses. That is because each could understand according to their need. See, there may be a huge river. You may be wanting water, but it is not that everybody tries to take bucketfuls of water. We may just want a glass full of water. Some people may require a bottle filled with water. Some people may require just a bucket of water. So whatever is our need, accordingly we learn and we go away. Now, there's a very interesting story in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, which says that the different kinds of beings, that is the devas, the human beings, the asuras, all of them wanted to know some message from the Lord, from God Brahma. And who brought this message? It says, it is Rishi Yajnavalkya narrates this story in this Upanishad. It was a thunder which came and narrated this message of Brahma. And how did he narrate it? Very, very short, pithy. There was no long lecture involved. It was just, there was, as we've all heard, brevity is the soul of wit. So it was a very brief message that was given. And what was it? Just the syllable dha. And each one understood it according to what they were exposed to or what they could, their levels of understanding was. The Devas understood it to be dhamyata, which means observe self-restraint. There were people who were very indulgent. They would indulge in a lot of things, pleasures. So the message that they understood from this syllable was observing self-restraint. The human beings who would always hoard, they understood it to mean dhatha, that is give, charity. The asuras, who were not at all having any love or compassion in their hearts, they understood it as dhayadvam. So the message was just the same syllable, dha, but they understood it in different ways according to their levels of understanding. Now, similar it is with the audience which comes to listen to Swami's discourse. The reason why I'm telling you about this is that even in our classes, we have different kinds of students. All students are not the same. So it is not that, in a class, it's not like a production line. It's not an industry setup. You're not in a factory where you're manufacturing, 30 or 40 different students. And at the end of the period, you're just giving them an ISO seal and saying that, yeah, fit for production or fit for, this is manufacture worthy. You don't do that because children are not the same throughout. Similarly, the classroom is also not a fast food counter. Only in a fast food, you will have, the same shape burgers, the fries, the pizzas. There'll be no difference in the shape. If you know it's a pizza, if it's Domino's, whether it is in Bangalore or in Cochin or in Delhi or in a small town, anywhere, it is going to be the same shape. Similarly with McDonald's, wherever it is. So we are not bringing out children in that manner, in a the same exact proportion, the same shape, the same size, the same understanding, level of understanding. Let us understand that this is not what we are supposed to be doing in the class. As you all know, fast food is not good for the body. Similarly, if ever you're giving an education which is going to be so standardized, then that is certainly not what as a teacher you're supposed to be doing. Children are live. It's an organic setup. It's more like a farmer who goes and plants the seeds and takes care of the plants, tends to the saplings day after day. At the end of it, even he does not know how it will come out. Some plants wither away, some plants bloom and blossom and give a good yield. So children are like that. And therefore, as a teacher, it is up to us to handle each one differently. Are we geared up for that? So how can we customize this process? We need to encourage creativity. We need to, encourage innovation in the class. We need to build the imagination of the students. Now, these are all important qualities which children should understand even as they are in the classrooms. From class 1 to class 10 or class 12, they are there in the school. So during this period, we have to see that their creativity, their innovation, their imagination, all these are well nourished and they grow up to be good individuals. Now let's look at the different kind of learners that are there in your class. You have the visual learners. Now these are people for whom everything has to be done, in pictures, in the form of images. Only then it comes, they're able to get it into their head. They draw mind maps, they draw clouds, and they try to get all the information that you give. The chunks of information is broken down into graphics, graphic organizers. Only then they'll be able to learn. These are children, you'll see them doodling in the class, making pictures. They're not wasting their time. They're trying to, if your class is so interesting and gripping, what they're doing is they're trying to translate what you're saying, the text, into visual images. Allow them that space. And then there are some who are auditory. They would not want to read. They only want to hear. When they listen, they're able to grasp and it remains in their heads. So you will have to cater in your class to such kinds of learners as well. And then you have the reading and the writing type. Now, these are children who, however much you tell them, it will not get into their head. They have to read and they have to write down in points whatever they have read. And then there are some children who are kinesthetic. They want to do everything, experiment with their hands. Only when they experiment, they'll be able to understand what the concept is all about. So these are the different types of, we call this as the VARK model, VARK. So these are the different types of children that are there in your class. And many learners, you cannot bracket them into any single group. They are in between 2 or 3 learning styles, or sometimes all of them. So your class must have a good mixture if you want to be an inspiring teacher. If you want the children to understand whatever you're teaching them, then it is important that the children, you give them a mixed fare. As I think I told you this in the last week itself. Imagine giving them the same kind of, diet every fare every week, every class. Nobody likes to do it. You like to have a variety. Children also want a variety. So do not go to the class and start, as soon as you go, jump into the class and start explaining page after page, paragraph after paragraph. Nothing will get into the head. You can only say that you've covered the syllabus without the children able to understand anything that is being taught in the class. Now, once again, I would like to, bring a reference to how Swami's discourses would be. He would not give us a same within that 1 hour, which also includes a time for translation. He is not going to, he never gave us a continuous, something like a bhashya. He never did that. His discourses, there would be a padyam. A padyam is a short Telugu couplet that he would introduce here and there. And then when he knows that the interest of the audience is flagging, or when it is going to be a very difficult concept, he would immediately say, Oka chinna udaharanamu. And he'll come up with a story, Oka chinna katha. And then there will be a song in between. And then when he wants everybody to participate, there will be a bhajan. And then the ability to make difficult concepts very, very simple. And this I would like to, from my own personal example, it was the year 1983. Those days when we had our group 3, that is pre-Sevadal, what we call the pre-Sevadal, we used to study texts. There was no, after that only the Path Divine text came. But at that time, between 81, 82, 83, it was huge texts. We were given the Gita Vahini, we were given summer courses if we had to do the Bhajagovindam, and then we were given the Shad Darshana's book if we had to do it. And there was this training program in 1983 in the month of August, and all these topics were being covered. And there was this particular Sanskrit scholar who was trying to explain this Shad Darshanas from morning. Different classes would be there, and he was explaining all this. And Swami very kindly told us on the very first day itself, if you have any doubt, I will come every evening and I will give you a discourse. The classes would end with Swami's discourse in the evening. So on the first day, he said, if you have any doubt in whatever you have listened to, you please make a note of it and give it to me as a chit in the evening. I will try to gather all those and I will explain those concepts. So here we were, all of us, listening to various lectures. And when this Shad Darshanas were being taught, nothing entered into our heads because the topic itself was so difficult. And the scholar, he was a highly intellectual scholar who was not able to bring it to the level of youngsters who we didn't understand much about it. So that evening, what happened, all the chits said, Swami, we didn't understand anything about Shad Darshana. So Swami looked around and said, who is it who taught these people this topic? And then he said, okay, I will teach you. And then over a period of time, every day he would take two darshanas and he would explain. And he made it so simple and so easy with so much of humor and so many stories that he was able to weave into it, that at the end of it, we thought, oh, is this that this gentleman was trying to make it so difficult? So you see, there are some teachers who are capable of making difficult concepts simple. And there are also teachers who are capable of making simple concepts extremely complex. How many of us ran away from mathematics and physics classes because the teacher was bad? So it is a good teacher who can, foster a love for the subject in the children, which is what we want all of you as teachers who have subscribed to the Sathya Sai model, to be. We want you all to be that kind of teachers who are able to have the IIEP experience, who are able to bring in the IIEP experience into the classroom. Now, what is this IIEP? The first one is insightful. The first I stands for insightful. Of course, all the topics that you have to, we are not saying in a class that you have to go and preach something that is not there in the syllabus or in the textbook. No, as teachers who are given to pedagogy, you have to be very careful in what you teach, because you are going to have the textbook as your base. But how you do it? How do you bring these concepts? How do you make the class insightful? How do you make it interesting? How do you inspire your children? You have to inspire the children. Otherwise, there will be no love of learning. It's a good teacher who can, draw the children to whichever subject that you are doing. And how do you make the class enjoyable? Classes need not be, something that children run away from. Give them a choice. Tell them on a Monday morning, children, today, would you like to sit in the class or would you like to play a game on your mobile? What would be their preference? No guesses. All of them would want to go for their mobiles, isn't it? So why is it that the learning or the game that they play on the mobile is so interesting? Why can't we make our classes that interesting that children say, no, I enjoy what you're doing in the class? Why can't we become that kind of a teacher? Why can't we wean the children away from these gadgets? These are thoughts that you have to keep thinking once you have chosen teaching as your profession. Because you are going to be judged only by your children, by the interest shown by the children. I'm not saying that all of them should come out getting 100%. That's not the way. All of them should understand what you have taught them. And that should become a lesson for life. They should be able to, use those lessons in their real life. That is the real test for a teacher. So if you want to do that, you have to make the classes participatory. How do you think Sathya Sai Vidya Vahini caters to these different types of learners? We have songs, we have activities, we have integrated art, we have integrated games, we have stories, and then we have interesting asides. And how is it relevant to daily life? We have to make the concepts relevant to daily life. Otherwise, how will your physics concept or a chemistry class or a geography class be interesting? Why should children even sit and learn all those if you're not going to make them relevant to the classes? And there should be a hands-on activity that's woven in. And of course, very subtly, we have to give the value concept. The value content should be like the salt in a dish. I don't go around announcing that I have put a tablespoon full of salt in a dish. Isn't it? You all know when you eat that salt is there, but it is there very subtly. That is how the value content should be there. It should not be there on the face. It should be so subtle that the children are able to get it in the way you are teaching the lessons. So this is what our Vidya Vahini content creators are trying to do. There are so many dedicated volunteers who are trying to do this day in and day out so that our teachers will benefit from these lessons. I'll just give you a small example. When you're teaching a lesson on temperature, you could simply ask, why do foods taste different depending on the temperature? Supposing it's a very hot day, food spoils very quickly. Milk curdles very quickly. The curd becomes sour very quickly. Whereas if it's winter, you could keep the food fresh for a longer time. That's a day-to-day relevance. When you're teaching temperature, you just don't talk to them only about temperature. You try to make it relevant to their own daily life. So next time when they eat, what you have taught them, the definition about the temperature and all the concept knowledge is also there. At the same time, they're also able to connect it to what they are doing. Similarly, why do we feel a shock when we touch something which is a metal during winter? Have you ever taught your children in this manner? If you have, then you're already an inspiring teacher. If you haven't, then it's time to see how we can make our classes inspiring. Another question, why does the ocean look blue, but water in a glass looks so clear? What makes it? Why does bread rise when baking? So you're talking about heat. Then you're giving them a connection to a bread which rises or a cake which rises when it is being baked. So these are some of the small, simple examples you can give even as you are trying to connect the concepts that you are teaching in the class to their daily lesson life. Now, we all know about a toolkit. When you have a problem at home, maybe your tap doesn't work, or you want to have a chair repaired, you call a carpenter or a plumber. What do? They don't come with their hands. They come with a toolkit. What is a teacher's toolkit? A teacher also has a toolkit. What are these toolkits? What is it? What is there in the teacher's toolkit? Let's just have a brief glance over what a teacher should have. As soon as you go in, don't start your class without checking in. We always check in, isn't it? When we are going to, whether it is airlines or whether you are going to a hotel, wherever you're going, you check in. That should be the warm-up exercise. What is the objective? You're trying to, it's like an icebreaker. You're trying to attract the children to your class. So you engage them. You don't start a monologue. Classes can never be a monologue. You have to engage the children. So now we have a tool that's called an entry ticket. What is an entry ticket? You can just write one question on the board, or you can, if you have a smart board, you can project it on the screen. And you can just ask the children to write an answer quickly, just 2 minutes. But they are participating in the class. It's like an icebreaker activity. They are participating in the class. And once they complete it, you can just call random students and ask them to read out whatever they have written. Now, what are the questions that you can give? What are you looking forward to finding out in today's lesson? Now, very often teachers go through a lesson without the child even comprehending what the whole hour the teacher has taught, which is very sad, isn't it? Children should know beforehand what you're going to teach. So if you tell them the previous day, I'm going to teach on climate change tomorrow, then you ask them as soon as they come into, or you come into the class, what are you looking forward to finding out in today's lesson and why? Ask them to write 2 sentences. Just give them 2 minutes and then 1 minute for them to call out what they have written. And what is the one thing you already know about this topic? That could be another entry ticket. What are the 5 things you remember from yesterday's lesson? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just as points. That's a recap, a good way of doing a recap. And then if you're an English teacher and you just want to improve their proficiency, what are the 3 adjectives you can use instead of great? Ask them to write that, and then ask them to read whatever they've written. Call them out at random. Everybody is prepared, but you just have the time to call out at random. So this way, what happens, you're giving them a warm-up activity, and this is what we call as an entry ticket, which is all a part of the teacher's toolkit. It can also be a KWL chart. You can give them a chart like this, pre-prepared chart, and say, no, what is it that you already know about this topic? What do you want to know? The W stands for what do you want to know? And then don't ask them to fill the last one. At the end of the class, you have something called the exit ticket. You just don't finish your class as soon as the bell rings and the other teacher waits outside. That's a bad teacher who does that, who goes on lecturing until the next teacher comes and waits there. And then you hurry up and you just finish the class and run away. No, you give sufficient time for them to wind up. And when you wind up whatever you have done, you give them a recap and say, go back to your KWL chart and write under the L column, what did you learn in today's topic? See that they have understood what you have taught. It's not a one side, you just come there, deliver whatever it is and run away from the class. That's not the idea. Wind up your class well in advance, 7 minutes before. Give them 2 minutes time to complete the L section and give them 2 minutes to just read out whatever they have understood from the class. Now, this will help you to understand whether you have succeeded in teaching them all that you wanted to teach, or whether your 45 minutes of class was just a monologue without anything going into the head. It just bounced and went to the boundary. So that is something that it's a check for you. If you ask them to complete the L column, it's actually a check for you to know whether your children have done better. If they haven't, then it's time for you to go back and recalibrate your strategy and come back and fill that gap that you have created in their learning. So this is another tool. It is there in the teacher's toolkit. So we've seen the entry ticket, we've seen the KWL, and then you have already engaged them. See, you have hooked them, isn't it? You have caught their attention. Now, what do? You have to explore the main concept. You have to explain. You have to elaborate. That is the main class that you have to do. How can we do it? Make use of the concept map, then make use of in between, just stop the class. As soon as you complete one concept or a part of the concept, think, pair, share. Ask them to think, ask them to quickly get into, sit together, facing each other, find out what you have taught them, ask one question and ask them to share the entire thing in the class. All these are just 5-minute activities, and don't be bothered if there is noise in the class. As I always, repeatedly tell in all my sessions, wherever it is, classroom is a live place. It's a place where children are there, and where there is life, it should be vibrant. If it's going to be quiet, we use the word pin drop, silence, be quiet, don't disturb. If you do all these things, then I think the scene should shift to a graveyard, because only there everybody is gripped with fear and nobody opens a mouth. But a classroom is not like that. A classroom is a vibrant place. You allow them to make noise, but that noise should not be cacophony. It should be something that is coming out of their lesson. So there is a healthy discussion that's going on in the class. So you can make use of think, pair, share. You can make use of a roundtable discussion, or you can, the 6 thinking hats. Make use of a thinking cap if you're giving them a proposition. Supposing you want to, it's a debatable topic. You want to say, should there be, if it's a higher class, and if there is a, you're a social studies teacher, you can give them a topic like, should there be simultaneous elections in both for the state as well as for the center? Let them see the pros and cons. So you have the 6 thinking caps concept, which we will explain in later class. If ever we get a chance to meet you in a later class, I will explain in detail. So these are all the things that you do this is the 5E model. That is, you engage them, then you explore, you explain, you elaborate. All this is the main class. And after all this, you use these the concept map, the think, pair, share, the round table discussion, put on a thinking cap. These are all different tools in your toolkit, which you just pull out as and when required, when you feel. You need not use all this in every class. Whichever fits in, that you use. Just like how we have a pile of clothes. When we have to go for a party, we use a dress that is appropriate. When we have to come to the Sai Bhajan, we use a dress that's appropriate for it. When we have to go to school or a college, that's a professional setting, you use an appropriate dress. So you pull out what is appropriate and then you use it. So like that, these are all the tools that you have. Similarly, as I told you, even in the kitchen, when we go, there are so many tools. You don't use everything for cooking something. Whatever is necessary for that particular dish, we use. So that way you try to use whatever is necessary for you in that particular class for using. This is for the main class. That is the explanation part of it, the exploration part of it, the elaboration part of it. Now you've done all these things. The 4 E's you've already done. What is the 5th E? Now you have to take stock. You have to find out, you have to evaluate whether your children have understood and whether your teaching has been effective. How do you do that? There is another tool, and that's called a 3-2-1. What are the 3 things you learned in class today? Quickly ask the children, what are the 3 things you learned in the class today? What are the 2 questions you still have on this topic? And then finally ask them, what is the one thing you enjoyed in this class? Now, if you don't want it to become a shouting, slanging match in the class, what you do, you just say 3-2-1, you put these questions, you put it on the board, ask them to quickly note it down in their book, and then you call each one and ask them to read whatever they have written. So this way you're taking stock. And one more I told you was the exit ticket. When you complete that L column of the KWL, that is also taking stock. That's also evaluating how it is. So which means you need to plan. You need to plan 5 minutes for your warming up session. You need to plan 20 out of a 40-minute class. You need to plan 5 minutes for your entry ticket. That is the, entry, the starting point. And then you have to, that is engaging them. And then you have to plan about 20-25 minutes for your class. And then you have to plan the last 5 minutes for a winding up. So this way your 40-minute class comes to an end. But then for this, you need to have absolute time management. If you don't do it, if you're not prepared, it may be difficult the first class, second class. But once you make this as your habit, then it just becomes second nature to you. And then, of course, there is the summing up, which is also the evaluation. A good exit ticket, as I've already told you, it can tell you what the students have understood. You can modify, you can adapt, you can revise the instruction. Now, how do you do the exit ticket? In a very imaginative way. You can give example like this. You have a shopping trolley and you have to fill it with, what is a shopping trolley? You fill it with a lot of groceries and goodies when you go to a mall or a hypermarket or a supermarket. But in a class, in this shopping trolley, you have to fill it with whatever you have learned. So just make use of those concepts. Just the words, the key words that you have learned in today's class, and put it inside that trolley. Children would love to do it. So they will just say, they will think in these 25-30 minutes, what are all the things that they have remembered? And they will put it into that trolley, which they draw in their classroom. So that kind of gives you an idea that they have understood what you have taught. Isn't it? It is so important for you to engage your children. I remember a child who was, children, if the class is interesting, they keep observing the teacher in many ways. There was once this math teacher who was writing, various some equations on the board. And he, at the end of the class, or just before completing the class, he just asked, did you understand what I did? How I did this? And then one child put up its hand and said, yes, I understood it very clearly. Okay, come and show it. You know what the child did? The child walked up to the board, took the pen and the marker pen in the hand, dropped it down and picked it up with the leg, because that's what the teacher had done. And that's all that the student had noticed. And so this, she said, the child said that I have noticed you doing this. So this is what the children are, all the time observing, not what is being taught, but how it is being taught, because what is being taught does not seem to be making an impact on them. So that is not what an inspiring teacher should be like. So this can be a way of knowing what they have learned if you're going to fill it with concepts. The other thing is you have to send a message in a bottle regarding what you learned. Make it very imaginative. See, now everybody is going to Gaganyaan, Chandrayaan, all yans they're going. So somebody is going to another planet and you have to send a message in a bottle on what you have learned in the class today. Maybe there is an alien student there you want to send. How will you draft it? So the child simply writes in 4-5 lines whatever was learned in the class. It's an imaginative way of summing up what they have learned in the class. Or another exit ticket can be, how will this lesson that you have learned today help you in your daily life? Or one more technique is hook, line, and sinker. What hooked you today? That means what attracted you in the class today? What was the thing that you really enjoyed listening to? What lined up with your thinking, which means what made sense in the class and what did not sink well, which means what didn't get into your head. That gives a clue to the teacher that the child needs more help. These children need more help in that particular concept. So this is how the exit ticket can be. So very quickly you see how in a class of 40 minutes you can divide it into an introduction, the main body, and the summing up using these different toolkits. And today what we are doing is actually a competency-based education. Because you are not supposed to be just, it is not a transfer from one head to another head. Professor Jumsai would always give us the example of how a teacher one day went to the class and kept a tape recorder in the class. He said, I have to go back to my staff room because I have a very important thing that I have to complete, but I have taped today's lecture and I'm keeping it in the class. So kindly listen to this lecture and go back home. So what the students did, they listened to it. And the next day also the teacher said, oh my, this seems to be working very well. So the next day also the teacher did the same thing. He taped his lecture, kept the tape recorder, and he went back. This was during the time of the tape recorders, not now. Now, of course, you have the mobile classes on the mobiles. So the teacher went back to the staff room to do his work. And the third day, he came back to take his tape recorder. Do you know what was there in the class? Instead of all the students, there were only tape recorders in the class. It was going from one tape recorder, the master tape recorder, to the student tape recorders. So head to head, tape recorder to tape recorder. That's what was happening. So this is not what we are giving the children. We don't want them to do a rote learning exercise. No, we are not testing how sharp their memory is. So what we are doing is we're trying to build a competency in this child. What are the competencies that now NEP is talking about, the central board is talking about, and slowly from CBSE, even your own local boards of education talking about? We have to build the competencies in children, not their memory skill, not the way they write. No, those are all secondary skills. The first thing that you have to build is the communication. How can communication be built? By making use of all those exit tickets, entry ticket, or the various tools that I've talked to you. They're very sample. What I've given you is just a few samples from the huge toolkit that is available for the teachers. Creative thinking. How can you show these things in the class? For example, if you want to say, how does a bread rise? A child has to go back home and do it and see whether it rises. If they want to see how a seed germinates, allow them to do that experiment. Or if possible, do some of these experiments in the class. Hands-on experiment. So this is how their creative thinking improves, and then they're able, these concepts get reinforced when they do it. And critical thinking, they start thinking. My teacher said, for example, have you ever noticed when it's very, very cold? It's very cold now in Bangalore. So what we do, we wear a lot of things, and when we go out, we start rubbing our hands because it becomes very chill. And then we blow. We blow because we want it to be warm. Our hands are so chill, we want it to be very warm, so we blow. And then we go back and have a hot cup of coffee. The coffee is very, very hot. We want to cool it down. So we take the cup of coffee and then we blow on the coffee to make it cool. So it's the same air. Why do we blow? To make something warm, to make our palms warm. Why do we blow? To make something cold, to make it less hot. When you're talking about heat, when you're talking about air, put a question like this to the children. Now they start thinking, what is the concept that this particular thing is trying to teach? Critical thinking. Now for this, you have to know, you have to keep all this in your kit. If you don't keep it in your kit, how will you use it? You need to have all these things. And for this is what Vidya Vahini is continuously trying to do. Our content is filled with such extra kind of material which makes the child think, which gives you the material, because you as teachers, we understand you will not have the time. Your daily time is spent in going to your school and completing your lessons and doing the various duties that have been endowed upon you, coming back to your homes, taking care of your personal lives. It's just not possible for a teacher to sit on a Google or get a reference on a search engine and get all these questions. Look no further. For all the topics that you have, class-wise, lesson-wise, it's all there in our content. Please make use of these things because they're ready-made. You can use these in your classes and make it interesting. And you're building the critical thinking competency in your children. And you have to make them socially responsible. It's not enough if you give your lecture in your school portals and then they go out. I'm not just talking about the Sathya Sai schools. Outside, they all learn about it, but right at the moment they go out, they eat something and throw the litter outside, or they spit on the roads. So where is their social responsibility? We won't be a nation like this if all our students, all of them are educated. People don't stand in a queue. People throw garbage out everywhere. People don't segregate garbage. People spit on the roads. You see all kinds of things. People throw things into water bodies. People waste water. People waste precious resources. Why do we do all these things? All these so-called whoever is doing all these things, we are all educated. We have gone to schools, we have gone to colleges, we are having white-collar jobs. But what is the use of that education? This is what Swami was trying to drill into each one of our heads. You know, education is for life, not for living. He would keep reminding us time and time again. So social responsibility is a competency that we need to train our children in. And then our own positive personal and cultural identities. Children are so sensitive these days. You tell them something, you read in the papers, they go jump out. The mother says, I can't serve you this. The child gets so upset, he harms himself or they harm others. Why have they become so vulnerable that they are not able to even take any negative remark or any course correction that is proposed? So teachers have been asked in schools, don't bother about children. Don't tell them anything because you don't know what they will go back home and do. So you need to build their competency, their confidence, make them good human beings, their personal awareness and responsibility towards the country. Sanganiti, Papa Bhiti. All this Swami has taught us how to become good citizens. So this is the competency that has to be, built in children, not getting marks, not getting, just getting, go through rote learning, write their exam and then forget about it the next day itself. So if we come to the end of it, it's my time to give you all an exit ticket. And then as summing up, why should you be the inspiring teacher? Because you want to make the class interesting. You want the children to remember what has been taught. You want children to enjoy what was taught in the class. You want all the children to participate, not just the first benchers, the front benchers, even the last bencher, the slow learners, as you call them. We want everybody to participate in this process of learning. And we want the learners to use these lessons in real life. We want them to have role models, and we have Swami as our role model. So we want them to understand how Swami was trying to be a role model. And we also want to create connections between various subjects, because multidisciplinarity is something that is being taught, that is being spoken about in the NEP extensively. You don't teach a physics lesson or a social studies as a standalone. For this, you need to come together before your classes begin. You want to ensure that the learners develop all these competencies. So here are some examples. You have for example, you can problem solving or a systems thinking. How do you provide? You're asked to build a new city, provide a blueprint. See how many subjects come together. Weather resistant, sustainable future, drainage, withstand calamities, eco-friendly materials, cost of the construction, clean, green city, availability. All subjects have come together here. You need the language to express. You need science to put the concepts together. You need to understand the geography and the history of the place. So this is one example for systems thinking that is bringing all the subjects together, a multidisciplinary example. Here is one more. If you have to buy grocery, you have to prepare a list based on the requirement. You have to estimate. So a lot of math comes. You navigate the route to the store on a map. So geography comes. You locate the items in the store. Problem solving skills, you check the total amount, you pay the amount. So a lot of these competencies come together in this multidisciplinary manner. So this is these are some of the points that I wanted to explain to you when it comes to having an inspiring classroom. How is it as a teacher you can make your class inspiring? So whatever I gave you were it's a very deep subject, but what I could bring to you is just a slice of it. I just wanted to help you. In case you're already doing all these things, then that's awesome. In case you're not doing it, I would request you and see if you can make use of these hints that many people have used and said that the classes have become a lot more interesting, and they are also enjoying. Otherwise, day in and day out, you go to the same classroom and you don't enjoy what you have to enjoy. After all, we go to the school and a school or a college, we teach, we are there for so many hours. Unless we enjoy what we are doing, it'll become so much of a drill. It'll become so much of a chore. So you have to enjoy the teaching process. Children have to enjoy the learning process. The schools should become vibrant places which bring out good children. If you have to do all these things, you have to be an inspiring teacher. So these were some of the things that I have placed before you. Thank you so much for your patience and for your kindness in coming to these classes. And if you have any doubts, I'm ready to take those questions now. It's your time.
Sai Ram Sister Dr. Akila, thank you so much. Questions, please.
I hope these things were useful for you, because if you're silent, then that makes me very uncomfortable.
No, teacher, it was so amazing, so amazing. As a teacher, I was thinking what all things I was not having when I was teaching.
Yeah, a lot of things have come up, with the good thing about online teaching, online learning is that a lot of pedagogy improvements, research has gone into it from all over the world. And people have been sharing many things, how they are making their classes interesting. So it's easy for us to pick up some of these things from them and learn from them and try to use it in our own classrooms. After all, children are children everywhere. So
I think questions are ready. Somebody might they have raised their hand, please.
yes.
Please.
Yes, Sister Shailaja, we'll start with you. I can see a raised hand there.
No questions, ma'am. It's very inspiring. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay, I thought the hand was raised and you have a doubt.
Sairam, I have a doubt.
Yes, please.
Sairam, as part of Vidya Jyoti program, I am teaching in a government school
Wonderful.
for the sixth standard girls and boys together. So it's a
Okay.
co-education where we used to teach Tamil. Okay, they have given only Tamil.
Okay.
So in that case, the children are making a lot of noise. It is hard for us to, even though we are 4 or 5, we can't able to control the class. At the same time, we should not be harsh. We should not shout. At the same time, we have to make them calm so that the purpose of teaching will get into process, isn't it? So what we should do to make them calm, because we are new to that class. So in what way we can able to make
Make the class interesting. All right, I got your question. See, the reason why children make noise is that because they find the class so boring. They don't really enjoy what is being taught. But if you make use of all these various tools that I have told you, slowly try before you go for the lesson, see how you can make use of the entry ticket, the exit ticket, the various other 3, 2, 1 simple techniques. If you can make use of all these things and then pose the question in the class, just see how gripping the class would be. Ask them questions that are relevant to their daily life, connecting it to the lesson that you have. They will start thinking, and they will make noise, but that noise will not be disruptive. That noise will be where they're so eager to explain, they're eager to share their knowledge or what they know. So that is why these tools, why are we making use of all these things? Because we want the children's attention to be, totally, how do you keep the children's attention under your control? You can't use the stick policy. That is not, that happened during my time. When we went to school, that was the only way the teachers knew how to hold us in class. But today that will not work. So then what you do, it's like a child, a child is crying. What do? You give a toy to the child so that the child starts playing with it and its attention is diverted. Similarly, in the class also, if you make use of all these various hints that we have, like this, there are many, many tools that you can use, but you have to see how you can fit it. That's where your preparation before the class goes in. You have to sit and think, how can I put one critical thinking question in between? How can I do this? See, this is not a technique that is anything new. Just think about our own Mahabharata. Vyasa, when he was writing, what happened? Ganesha was writing and Vyasa was narrating, and he was doing it so fast that Vyasa was not able to keep pace. So in between, what did he do? He started giving riders. He started giving things because the one condition was that Lord Ganesh should understand what he is writing. So he just gave him one, just to catch his breath. He gave him he posed something in the course of what he was saying, so that the Lord would sit and think, and before that Vyasa could catch a breath. So this technique is not something that is not known to our Indians. It's unfortunately that factory line, after the Industrial Revolution, unfortunately that factory line thought started coming into it. The British wanted to come and just create, an education system where we would all become subservient. They just wanted us to be automated, glorified clerks. And that is where our critical thinking skill went for a toss. Now you have to bring all those things back. Make the children think. For that, you should be up to it. As teachers, you should start preparing your lessons beforehand. How can I make these children think? What is it that I can include in this lesson which will make them think? Try doing it. Definitely your class will be a lot better, and you will find the children are behind you. That is so important. They would want to learn more. You have given them that, hook to learn. Otherwise, if you're going to just see what is there in the text, why should they learn what is there in the text? It's quite boring. That is why they're making noise and the class is disruptive.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Saira ma'am.
Yes, Saira.
Saira ma'am, I am Pramila. I am teaching in Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Education. I am a Hindi teacher, ma'am. So I am feeling the difficult when teach the children language, because I am teaching in Tamil Nadu. So when the child will come for the 9th standard, I am teaching the basic. So when I complete that portion and I have to make them to set that board exam. So it is very difficult situation. They have to understand and they have to write the exam.
Yeah, so that
Exam.
only happens when you think that all that is there in the textbook has to get into their head. Instead, why don't you try methods like think, pair, share? I'm sure there are children who are, or not all children are of the same standard.
No, ma'am. Actually, we have 5 students. So 5 is different way, because the communication, they don't know Hindi, and then we have to teach Hindi. But they know Telugu, they know Tamil.
Yeah,
So
that's
when
the problem. I understand. Just give them small topics, make them speak, make the one who knows, better than the rest speak, and make him correct when the other child is not speaking properly, so he can pick out the mistakes. There are so many techniques that you can do in the class to make the class a playway method. If you just look into surf the net, you will get playway method of teaching.
Yes, ma'am.
The same text that you have, you can convert it into a little bit of, interesting, by making it a lot more interesting. Make it like a game. You can use the corner game. So many things are there. So many techniques are there by which you can bingo. There are so many games.
Yes, ma'am, we are doing.
And so that way, what happens, of course, you will not be able to get everybody to the same standard, because once again, their environment. But definitely it will be a lot better than just giving them question answers and asking them.
Yeah, ma'am. That is only, ma'am. One more thing, ma'am. That Vidya Vahini they are giving for so many English, but why not for Hindi also? They have to give that. Now I am using that Sheru Mama ki Kahani. That is very good for me. I am using in classrooms. So like that, something we will get if possible.
Point taken. I'll find out.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Sairam?
Yes, Sairam.
I have two doubts, Sairam.
Okay.
One is, how should a teacher should speak fluently in English in the stage?
Join Vidya Vahini's Mission English program. It will help you a lot.
Okay, madam. Second, how to lift the very poor students in the class?
By making use of all these techniques. How do you categorize them as poor? You think that they are poor because they are not interested in doing, or you feel that they, even after trying, that they are not good. If they are not listening to what you're doing in the class, that means the class is boring and they are not interested. They may not be they may be very sharp students, but they are not able to concentrate because they don't find it interesting. So for that, you will have to make use of all these different techniques, whatever it requires, to make such children, at least come up to a particular standard, which you can definitely do if you just move away from your traditional way of teaching. The traditional method of teaching is not going to help the children in any way. So you have to first improve yourselves as teachers. Why this constant training and orientation is being given? Because it's like, I think I'm running short of time. Otherwise, I will tell you the story of this carpenter who was teaching this man how to make boxes. And then he went back and started making wooden boxes. The first month, he was able to make 10 boxes. The second month, he was only able to make 8 boxes. Then progressively, after 6 months, even making one box was becoming difficult. He didn't know what was the problem with him. What do you think was the problem? Why do you think the same man who was making 10 boxes the first month was not able to make even 6 boxes or 1 box? Towards progressively, it was becoming bad. Why do you think it was becoming so bad?
Same things gets bored for him. Same thing he's continuously doing.
Is it? Any other reason?
I don't know, madam.
The reason is he went back to his master to find out, because the same number of hours, the same place, everything was the same. And the master heard what he said and told him only one thing: did you sharpen your weapon? And then he realized that he had not sharpened the weapon, and therefore that is whatever he was cutting, the axe that he was cutting, the saw that he was cutting those wooden boxes. So similarly for teachers also, we have to keep sharpening our skills. Just think, the day you entered your school, are you teaching it the same way that even today after so many years? If your answer is yes, then you're a bad teacher. Because so many things have happened. Are we doing the same thing that we did many years back? How much life has changed? Why is it in a classroom we don't think that we have to change? You have to make use of new age techniques. You have to make the class interesting. So your first desire should be, how can I make the class interesting? What should I do? Once that thought strikes you, then you will be a better teacher, because you will start looking out for resources. And resources, as I'm telling you, are plenty. Just look into the content that is there on Diksha put up by Vidya Vahini. Come to the LMS of Vidya Vahini, you will get, for every lesson, there are ways of making it interesting. Make use of all those techniques. Definitely your class will be interesting and you will not be asking such questions.
Okay, thank you, madam. Thank you, Sairam.
Yes, Sairam. Swami has given us so much, so it's up to us to make use of this to sharpen our tools. So I think there was a question on how to join Vidya Vahini's Mission English program. You just have to, if you go to Google Play Store, you will get the Sign In the English app. Just download that and register yourself as a learner. Or if you want to do it through your school, you can do it through your school. Or if you want to get in touch with any one of us, you can, and we will help you to enroll yourself as a learner. Any other doubt? All right.
Sairam, ma'am.
Sairam.
This is Mala from Tiruvattur, Machir.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very such a beautiful and nice session I had. Again, second time I'm attending this inspiring teacher like that. The previous session also I have attended. For an inspiring teacher, we say we are using all the kids' activities and all, but we couldn't manage the syllabus completion according to that. when we go deep into the activities and all, how to manage? Can you suggest any way regarding that?
Yeah. See, once again, the discretion is with us. Whatever you're learning in your extra,
Yeah.
that is for your reference. It doesn't mean that you have to do. Vidya Vahini's, if you look at the lesson plan, it runs to about 42 pages.
Yes.
So many activities, so many interesting asides, so many day-to-day relevance, lot of things, value content, everything is given. It doesn't mean that you have to use everything.
We are.
Tomorrow you're going for a wedding, okay? You're having a cupboard full of 25 pattu saris, silk saris. Because you're having 25 saris, will you wear all the 25 and go out on the road? What will you do? What will you do?
Select.
Simple.
Yeah.
We are given lots so that we should, as teachers, we should know a lot of things. You should know what, if you have 10 minutes time, then you say, okay, I can make use of this. I have only 2 minutes, but I still want to make the class interesting. So let me pull out this particular thing which will come only for 2 minutes. Let me make
Children expect the same activity next time when I enter the class. Is there any activity related?
Yeah, tell them you finish whatever we have to do quickly, and then we'll do the activity, because the activity is not over and above what you're teaching. You don't have to teach the concept. If you're asking them to do the activity, they've learned the concept. So then you make the other child to explain whatever they have learned. And you don't have to sit and explain in detail. They have already learned it through that activity, isn't it? It is not X plus Y. It's not that Vidya Vahini is not plus whatever you're doing plus this. No. What is given there itself becomes your lesson. So you can pull out whatever is relevant, which helps you to explain that concept and make use only of that. You don't have to first sit in the class, explain everything, and then do the suggested activity. No need at all. You do the activity and make one child explain what they have done. And then you fill in the gap. Say, yeah, this is how it is, this is how it is, this is finished. 5 points. You must know how to be brief. Brevity is the soul of wit.
Have to plan that.
It's something that teachers have to learn. As unfortunately, what happens, the traditional method of teaching, we think that we have to go on explaining whatever is there in the textbook. That is not going to help. Instead, even one sentence, a child does the activity, they are able to explain the concept to you.
Yes.
As much as possible, get the children to explain. You don't waste your energy. You only fill in the gap where they have not completed. That alone you fill in. Say, yeah, this is also there, isn't it? This you forgot. Did you notice this? That way you are
like radiant thinking, right?
Exactly. It is that. That is what is called smart teaching. All of you now have to start adopting smart teaching methods, not the traditional method.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Sairam.
One more thing, experiential learning also.
Yes, experiential learning, everything is necessary. Activity-based learning, problems-based learning, project-based learning. We have 100 different things, but how you're going to use it within the given time is where your ingenuity as a teacher lies. And again, what I'm trying to impress upon you all is, don't go to the class and start explaining your lessons and then start doing this. This way you will never find time. Because even for the traditional method, you did not find time. Now, if you're going to add extra things to your already existing burden, you will only become exhausted. You keep the traditional method aside, make use of this, make the children explain, and where they've gone wrong, you correct them, and then you give them where they've left out things. That's all. You try doing it, then you will know. First class, second class may be difficult, but as you progress, that itself will become your second nature. Then you will know this is the way of actually, transacting lessons in the class. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank
For the
you.
wonderful session.
Thank you. It was my pleasure bringing it to you, sharing with you what little I know.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Dhanyavad, ma'am.
Thank you so much,
you.
ma'am. It's a wonderful session for me. This is the second time I attend this session.
It is very, very useful to me, ma'am. I never ever missed any of the classes of Vidya Vahini. And the way of explaining, his explanation, answer, everything. Really, it is engaging, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank
I'm
you.
Abhirami from Sathya Sai CBSE Tiruvachur. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, and good luck to all of you. Please make use of all this and become the best teachers. Each one of you is worthy of winning the Best Teacher Award.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Saira ma'am, 1 minute. Could you please tell me the name of the app once again?
I have put it on the chat. Please look at it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sarah, ma'am, one more doubt. Can I get this slide presentation slide in the group? Is it possible? When you have presented some slides and presentation, slide presentation you have done during the class. Will I get it in the form of a PDF? Whether I will get it in the form of a PDF?
I think this session has been recorded, so I'm.
Thank you, man. Thank you, man. Thank you, Saira.
Right, Sister Dr. Akila. So wonderful. And we are so happy that Bhagavan has blessed by providing you for this session. And as a teacher, I feel that is so amazing, so useful, so beneficial for any teacher. Thank you so much. And the only thing that we can do is praying to Swami to shower all his grace on you and the team so that these sessions can be reaching more and more teachers in the country.
Yes,
Thank you so much. And we express our deep gratitude to all the participants. And the video will be we'll be sharing the video tomorrow itself. And one more request to all teachers, because all the total number of teachers, only 140 teachers are attending. To motivate all other teachers to attend these sessions, one thing we can do, you just explain the experience, share the experience of this session in the group so that all the teachers will understand how these sessions are so beautiful, so beneficial for, and as the sharpening of the axe, we have to undergo this process always. Thank you so much. We pray to Bhagavan to bless you all. Sister Dr. Akila, from bottom of our heart, we thank you. Thank you so much. Saira to all of you.
Thank you to all of you. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Saiteja?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, ma'am. Oh. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Jai Bolo Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba Ji ki
Jai. Sairam to all. Sairam everyone.